When we're looking at Christianity and we're looking at the three qualities of God, there's three words: omnipresent, or all the presence. In other words, God's everywhere. God's in the electron, the proton, the neutron. God's in the calcium carbonate, the quartz crystal. God's in the beetle. God's in the worm. God's in the microbes. God's in the viruses. God's in the squirrels, in the peacocks, in the birds, in the bees. God's in all of it. God's in everything: the trees, the flowers, the grass. God's in you and me. God's in all of it, everywhere. Not God in the sky like we were taught. Sure, God's in the sky, but it's not the place of God. God's in everything. So we need to change that format. That was a misuse of baby truth. They fed us baby truth. And baby truth is like for a little kid. And we need to grow up and start realizing that we're supposed to be conduits, because we already are, for God. Instead of, I'm going to be good and then I'm going to go to heaven, and that's the whole secret of life. No, that's if you're a baby, spiritual baby, and you can have it, you can keep it. And if you don't want to change it, that's a choice. But we're made to find the kingdom of heaven is within you, Jesus Christ. Let thine eye be single and let the whole body be filled with light, Jesus Christ. He gave us all kinds of clues. What you're looking for is right inside of yourself, in other words. Right? Here the 2,000 plus year old message, and we're still on God's in the sky as a group, as a mass. And let's do baby talk about God and keep the baby talk going on so that we can delude ourselves away from actually what we are and who we are. So that's one, God's everywhere. Two, omnipotent or omnipotent. In other words, God's got all the power. Okay, God's got all the power. Wow. So, this is an interesting one, because God has all the power. So you think you got power, and I think I got power, but it's not mine or it's not yours. It's borrowed. It's borrowed power from God. Well, geez, but I feel like me. I feel like what I do is I got a purpose, and yes, but I'm not objective enough to realize where this power is coming from. I haven't saturated my mind appropriately to reason enough, discriminate enough, intuit enough that, oh, this is borrowed power. So the person that is, atheist, they think it's them, you see. Well, that's fine. If you want to be an atheist, you're doing exactly what the other person's doing, but the opposite. You're just trying to disprove the existence of some other higher entity. I've had clients like that, and when we were done, I said, well, how are you with other cognitions of something greater than yourself? And they said, well, you've proven to me that there is something that's bigger than me, and I've felt it as you've been doing this more. So thank you. And no one has truth, all of it, but God. So we're here on earth and we're trying to use truth as our medium. Truth, not data centers. Truth. So truth is immutable laws of God. Well, how do I know that? Well, Yeah, start asking yourself, why do I feel crappy today? Why don't I feel good today? Well, it's because of what you felt, thought, or did. And then you're looking at how you're using the power that you were given. The story of the prodigal son from the Bible. You know, this dude has two sons, right? The father. And one leaves and goes all over the world. And, you know, he finds this, he finds that, he finds this, and he finds that. But he realizes he had it all made in the shade with his father, where he came from. So he goes back to where he came from. And he tells his father, you know, I've went all over the world, and the best place I can ever be is home here with you. And it's symbolic of the soul to God. But in this story, it's a human story about a boy to his dad. And so he is saying, I used my power. I went everywhere. I searched, and what I was searching for was right here. And that's what we're trying to do with our power, to find God within ourselves, or the Father. So, omnipotent or omnipotent is the ability to select and choose properly power within yourself. Well, many religious people get stuck on blame game. Anger, then blame. You know, pissed off, then blame. Afraid, then blame. And this is a negative. It keeps them in a locked position. Locked, you know, like the door's locked on themselves. And so when you do a negative, anger or fear, and then judge or blame, you can't unlock the door. A lot of times the mind is the blamer, or sometimes it can be the heart with overfilled sentiment, or the heart with intolerant to the mind. Yet what happens is this reflex. It's a reflex. If you choose and use the power incorrectly, well, you did that to me. And you get stuck on that, and you keep doing that, and you do that, and you redo that. You're not going to grow. You're using the power incorrectly. You're using the electricity of God, and you're turning it on and doing a lower law, a negative law of blame, which is a form of prejudice. Ancient Chinese secret, he who point finger at everyone know nothing. He who point finger at self know a lot. He who point finger at no one, he know everything. So this is about judgment. This is about tolerance. This is about knowing yourself and choosing the power of life, of law, of love, of wu wei, which is a Chinese term for spirit, in the correct mannerism. The Holy Spirit is the elect. You're learning to select and choose appropriately the power of God. Well, where does it start at? It starts in the Garden of Eden, in the snake. What's the snake of the self? It is the guts. What are the guts? Impulses, instinct, automatic reactions. What are automatic reactions? I hate it every time you say that. Why do you keep saying that? Automatic reaction. Well, I didn't do anything. Why are you blaming me? Automatic reaction. Well, I just don't like that person when they're always like that. Automatic reaction. Find the source. The source is in the unconscious. The source is in the mind of the past. You have to use the power correctly you have to use the mind on the past. You have to understand the mind of the past to know the present. In order to get to the present, that brings the third variable, omnipresent. You can't get to the present time more and more to get to the unknown source, to start to know it, unless you clean out the mind with appropriate power, proper impulse. Most people want to get more power to feel like they're grandiose above it all. This is the ego. You can do that. It's just egotistical. It's grandiose. It's dopamine overload, epinephrine overload, sulfur overload in the left brain. The person believing they are the mind and the body. This is not God, the ego. Well, God's everywhere, so why wouldn't that be God? Because there's a choice factor between ego and soul. And many people choose the ego or the body and the mind instead of reasoning correctly with the power to change the directive force between the mind body. You're trying to choose enough properly to change and recreate the self as a known soul, as a soul entity. In order to do that, you have to use these three aspects of God appropriately to the self on a daily basis. Those three powers, right? To get to God, the soul has to be satisfied with something. If you do imaginary overqualifications of the self, you will bracket yourself away from what you want. If you pick and choose and select the same thing and you're not getting good results, this is a warning sign that you're not using the power correctly. Most of the problems here are because of a lack of proper reasoning. Many people reason and they got good reason faculty, but they don't reason on consciousness, awareness, self-awareness. I just behaved really odd, really weird. Where's that coming from? It's at the behavioral level when you start understanding yourself that you start to grow the most. So you involve yourself with your behavior more to understand yourself. Most of the time, they're impulsive behaviors from the unconscious that cause reactivity. Then if you anger, blame, for it in this instance, you end up thinking that you're correct. This is incorrect. This is a misuse of power of God. You can't get to the omnipresence more because of this false choice. You may feel like you are, but unless you understand the rhythm of that problem, it'll keep coming back until you cure it, until you antidote it, until you reason on it enough times. Selectivity is in the choice of probability of whatever is vibrating in the present moment at the highest or the most abnormal. This is what the soul chooses. In other words, if you're angry, you choose anger. If you're afraid, you choose fear. But if you start to look at anger, you start to look at fear, you start to look at disillusionment, and you start saying, oh, I'm being disillusioned. Oh, I'm being angry. Oh, I'm being afraid. That is the first step to using the power correctly. Oh, well, what is the opposite of anger? It's patience. Oh, I need to be patient with myself. I see. If I just keep blaming, I'm just going to get the same result. But if I'm angry and I go, okay, I'm really angry, and I breathe in and out, and I start to feel it and be with it, my selection is new. When I do that many times, I start to get these tapes in the mind. I've done this so many times. I know it works. And these tapes in the mind, they come up. And when they come up, you get a story of the past, and what you want to do with that story to get more consciousness is to find the feeling, thought, and the behavior of yourself from the past. Because I will tell you, you're doing the same thing. Many, like 80 to 95% of the time, it's the same thing that needs to be healed. Sometimes it's higher. So in other words, I was angry then. I'm reacting angry now. I was afraid then. I didn't know I was afraid now. What is fear? Well, it is confusion. It is doubt. It is superstition. It is not knowing. It is ignorance. Those are fears. So unless you're in the know of yourself, you're really not evolving. I don't even know why I reacted like that, and I don't care. That's denial. That's fear. People that are in denial, that's a defense tactic. Right, wrong tactic, that they're the ones that are all right and someone else is wrong. That's not God. That's the ego. When you're in and with God more, you see more that you're with, like synchronicities happen. What you're feeling in your heart happens around you. That is synchronicity. That is proof positive that God is alive in life. Go for that. That's what I love. I love that. You are a conduit for God. Whatever your temple, church, or whoever tells you, you are a conduit for God. You help life. You are programmed to be a helper of spirit. You may already do it, but you may be doing things that aren't your job. So you want to find out what your tools are within yourself to assist better and further life, God, spirit. In order to do that, you have to be more accurate with yourself, what's in your unconscious mind, so that you can get the impulse behavior managed so that the electricity can flow in you deeper and stronger, and your commitment can get bigger, and then your purpose turns on greater.